Good afternoon. Here we are again. For a moment, I got a little bit uptight because I thought I lost my speech. It's here. Sharing our faith, that you and I may be mutually encouraged by each other's faith. I can say to that, to God be the glory forever and ever. It is a privilege to be here before you this day. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share my faith. Let's talk to business now. My dearest brothers and sisters, hi, my name is Maciel Arias Hernandez, but tomorrow I will be Maciel Hernandez. I think Brian knows what I'm talking about. So we are going to ride the rocket. For those of you who live in Toronto know what the rocket means. So we are going into the bus. And I will be getting off on the third or fourth light. Now, this is if traffic it goes smoothly, you know. So just in case you wonder where I'm heading to, I am going to the Mennonite Gathering in Kitchener. So just a mental picture where I'm going. And I am going to speak about my faith. Your faith? The Mennonites? Who are the Mennonites? I'll have to say, oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. You know, I'm getting off on the fourth light. So that won't give me enough time to tell you about them. But you know what? I have an idea. Google them. You know about Google? Google them. You can find details about who they are and what they do. I'll tell you though, how God led me to them and my faith experiences with them. But you know, my friend, faith isn't a one-time deal. Faith is constant, a constant experience throughout the different phases in our lifetimes. I have to breathe a little because I'm nervous. I'm sorry. So, in the early 1990s, when I was a young woman, that was a long time ago, a heart filled with gratitude took over me. After an elderly woman fed me and sheltered me and my family. Her act of kindness inspired me to volunteer at a senior center. So after calling the volunteer center of North York, Toronto, they sent me to the St. Clair O'Connor community, a Mennonite project. And this is how my faith journey began in a Mennonite project. I was given the opportunity there to volunteer, and later on, this led to a paid job. In 1994, the future of my family in this country was in jeopardy, as we received a removal order from Canada. When I notified my work of my situation, the seniors and staff took the initiative, and they began collecting letters of petitions and brought them personally, just picture this, personally to the official in charge of my case at the border in Niagara Falls. Exactly the date I was supposed to be removed from this country. So I could never forget the caravan of vehicles loaded with seniors with canes, walkers, wheelchairs, and the staff. Some of them even brought their kids to join the campaign. You know, they came along and, you know, just to show support with one goal in mind, to stop the removal order of my family and myself. I'll never forget one of the seniors a 100-year-old man, Englishman, that stood up in front of the official and said to him, "What are you doing? What do you think you're doing? Sending her away? No, she's like my mother, my sister, my daughter. You can't send her away. Who is going to take care of me?" So during this time, I was introduced to a lovely couple. I guess some of you may know them, Adolfo and Betty Puricelli, who were directors of the Mennonite New Life Center at that time, a place where they help immigrants to settle in this country. Another project funded by the Mennonites. So the end results of the great power, I call it, in action was that my family and I were granted permanent residence in Canada. So words can't express the power of love in action felt that day. Here I found myself again with a heart filled with gratitude to God and the people in this community. This inspired me to pursue a career in nursing and to serve the residents and family. And I began to participate in Bible studies in the meeting at the Mennonite New Life Center, New Life Church. So filled with gratitude with God and admiration for the Mennonite faith community, my late husband and I decided to become part of the Mennonite faith community. My friends, I'll tell you, my husband was a man that took part of the Sandinista movement, fighting for social changes against the dictatorship of the Somoza government in the late 70s. A man who later on he realized, if you asked him, who won the war? And he will tell you, no one. As when the good guys took power, they became just like the bad guys, he will say. And he felt as though he had fought in vain. But I know, and for this I am grateful to the Mennonite community. I know that he found the spiritual nurturing he needed within the Mennonite faith community. It was here that he was invited to interpret scriptures, to ask questions, and to have open discussions with other members of the congregation. It is in this community that he became to admire individuals who walked the walk because, like himself, they weren't indifferent to social injustice, but had another way of fighting against it. And you know what way is that? With the armor of Christ. He had a profound admiration for the Christian peacemaker team. My friend, I'll tell you, I've learned the importance of being part of a faith community. You know, I'm going to tell you a little bit what happened in 2011. My late husband was diagnosed with liver cancer. In 2012, he went through a liver transplant. The donor was my daughter. That day, in the waiting room in the hospital, surrounded by my brothers and sisters, I understood and felt the importance of prayers. As we waited more than 8 hours before we could hear any news if the transplant had gone well. So it did. It went well. But I could sense and feel the forces of everyone in that room praying for one purpose. For that, I will be forever grateful. In 2013, unfortunately, we got the news, the cancer returned and took over his new liver. Again, the community stood strong with us in prayers. I have to tell you, when a doctor tells you bluntly, you have only 3 months left, and they can be so accurate, which was the case in my husband, you wonder, you kind of like your faith gets shaken. My husband wasn't afraid of death. This month, we celebrated 1 year of his passing. And I am very grateful for the Mennonite community for showing me the living Christ. My husband asked me, could you please take care of me? Do not send me to a hospital. And when you don't come from money, what that means. But you know what? You learn to live the faith day by day. When you learn to trust in God, it's amazing. And when you are in your most vulnerable times, is when you can feel God's presence. I was able to stop working. Thank you for the Mennonite community. They brought us food. They brought us money to pay rent because when you live in a city like Toronto and you stop working, the bills don't stop necessarily coming, right? So we were able as a family to take care of him. My husband peacefully passed away on Palm Sunday, 2014. So what I am trying to tell you, for that I will be forever thankful. And I am trying to tell you just to follow, see how one act of gratitude takes you to another and another. It's like a series of events. But what I really want to tell you, my brother and my sister, is just give yourself the opportunity to experiment and to experience that living God within you. And say, here I am, Lord. Please give me the grace so I can serve you. And don't let money, don't let nothing in this world to limit that. No money, no walls, nothing. Just free yourself and serve the Lord. Amen.